Hey, I'm Carson James, and in this video, we're going to talk about some things you can do while out on the trail to help your horse's attention stay on or come back to you if they have a tendency to get distracted by things over here, things behind them, etc. We're going to show you some different little moves that you can do with your horse to engage his mind and basically give his mind something better to think about than what's over here or the horse that may be coming up behind him, or any of those kind of typical things. So an example is like right now, he's, I'm not really doing anything that requires him to give any brain power towards me. But if I pick up the reins and I start to ask him to come around a little bit, then maybe come back this way a little, so the one we talked about in the video is using a turnaround. And that's a really good one because it will engage your horse. They have to kind of really feel how you're sitting and what you're asking, and it'll really engage their brain. He's kind of a little more alert right now than he was when we first started filming, because he knows at any moment I might ask him to come over here, then I might ask him to come here, then I might ask him to come there, then I might ask him to hit there. So you can do all of these different little things to engage your horse's mind. So for example, if we're trying to film the video right now, and let's say that something rustles in the woods over here behind the camera, and he goes to look at it, or he seems to be getting bothered by it, or it seems to be something that is distracting him, more than just 1 or 2 seconds, like something that's, probably worth pulling his mind back to. So, other things you can do, let's say that like right there, see how he's just kind of looking over there? I can just wiggle that left leg right there. See how that brought his head back? And I just kind of jiggled that left rein. I just created something happening over on this side when his attention, watch here, wiggle the leg, boom, comes back. So every time his attention goes over there, I could just create a little bit of interestingness, if that's a word, and pull his attention back to this side. Other things you can do that would, there we go, a little bit of left wiggle. See it, how it pulled the ear back right there? That one is because a wild tiger, kitty, is approaching the, a wild tiger is approaching the scene. So see right there, a little leg wiggle, bring it back. So you can actually get your horses in a habit of keeping their attention on you and or straight down the trail where they're looking, where they're going, not only physically, but mentally as well. So those are some of the habits you want to build. Now, some other things you can do that would engage one is, say something was happening over here and it started to bother him a little bit. One of the things you might do is anything that would say, hey, ignore that, think about this. So like, we could just pick him up here, we could step his hind end over here, then we could back him up 1 step, then we could walk him forward 1 step, then we could bring his front end to the right a little bit, then we could bring his hind end to my left a little bit, then we could bring the front end to the right a little bit, then we could go into like a little side passing kind of motion, then we could stop the front end and have the hind end keep going around the front end, then we could drop the hind end and have the front end come around the hind end. Then we could pick up both of them again and go into a side pass. Then this time we could stop the front end from going this way, have the hind end go on around. Then we could pick up the front end, bring it to the left. Then we could just trot right off a little bit. Then we could stop. We could come to the left a little bit. We could trot right off a little bit. So anyways, all of these things, you're just giving your horse's mind something better to do than to get worried about this or that or anything like that. One time somebody asked, hey, what do I do when I'm riding out on the trail and other horses start coming up on mine and he or she would pin her ears and, possibly kick? Easiest fix for that, the easy immediate fix for that is just trot your horse off about 15, 20 feet and then put them back in a walk and then pretend like it never happened. So like what you're doing there is when his mind is starting to go towards something we don't really want, getting his ears pinned at the horse's back here, we do two things. One, we say, hey, forget about that. Think about what's in front of you. Go somewhere. Kind of changes his mentality. But then also we have him yield his feet away from the horse that he was pinning his ears at to therefore help him not pin his ears at the horse coming up behind him. Now, I know what you might be asking. Well, what happens if the trail is really narrow and I don't have room to do these kind of things? Well, in a situation like that, what you would probably want to do is work on this stuff in a better environment and kind of get it fixed and ready and then go out. Like the same reason you don't take the 15-year-old kid with his learner permit and say, hey, go drive on the 8-lane interstate through a big city. First, you would prepare him, and then once he was ready, you would put him in the more challenging environment. We mentioned the one thing about to where if they get a little upset about a horse coming up behind them and you just trot him forward, so even if the trail is just wide enough for your horse to be on, just jumping them forward 20 or 30 feet and then going back to a walk, and then they might gain up on you again, so you just jump them forward another 20 feet. So after some repetition of this, few things will happen. Just simply doing something that simple, you're gonna be kind of saying to your horse, hey buddy, as long as the ears stay forward and you don't put your ears back and you don't worry about this other horse, you don't have to work, you don't have to go into a trot, you get to just keep walking and life is maximum easiness. But if the ears go back, you have to jump into a trot for 20 or 30 feet, which is a little bit more work to them. So really you're kind of doing three things at once, not just the two we mentioned when you do that particular exercise. So those are some ideas that you can try to start getting some good habits built into your horse. Wish you luck with it, and I hope it helps you out.